Hello and welcome to another episode of Devs on Tape. Today, again from Kscope in Denver, Aurora to be precise. I'm having a next guest I catched on the floor outside. My guest today is Scott Spendolini. Hi, Scott.
How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. So I'm very glad that you are participating to our podcast and talk about mainly your daily business, right? So I did a little bit of research and I saw that you were multiple times at Oracle and you were even carrying proudly an Oracle Ace Director backpack.
That's the best backpack I've ever had. And I already told Jennifer she's never going to get it back.
That's great. So maybe we should just put alumni on that, because if you're entering Oracle, you are not an active.
If you got a pen, I could make that change.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. So today we are planning to talk about your career all in all, and we have a couple of stories. I think we can talk about your experience with Oracle, Apex, or whatever products you are working on. So I would like to learn a little bit more about your past career, whatever company you were in, and what's your passion? What's your software passion?
Sure. I think that's pretty easy. That would probably be Apex.
Yeah, of course it is.
All right. So, I could start, but believe it or not, and this will be one of those fun facts, my degree is in television management.
Oh.
So I went to school at Syracuse University at the Newhouse School, thinking at some point I would produce television shows. Mm-hmm. And I spent a lot of time in high school. Even we had this little makeshift TV studio, and I would put like a video yearbook together or put different productions together. And I really loved it, right? It was really, really cool. Went to school and got a job to pay the bills, so to speak, and computing services at Syracuse, where we would monitor the labs and we'd help people print things and, mm-hmm. just the daily type stuff. Don't forget, this was where we barely had a network. For whatever reason, Syracuse would boot all their Windows machines off of a file server. So when the file server went down, which was weekly, all the machines on the campus would be banging on it. So we would just keep people calm most of the day. So that job really started to get me to think hey, there's a whole different career path here, mm-hmm. right? Helping people and doing this IT thing is pretty cool. I went back home for my first summer and my electronics teacher at high school said, hey, do you want to work at Aetna? Mm-hmm. And Aetna is a big life insurance, health insurance company here in the US. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. What would I do? And he's like, oh, I have a friend. They need people to write code and develop systems.
Okay. I
was like, all right, yeah, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Go for the interview. They said they needed me to know Fox Pro and Visual Basic. I knew neither.
Okay.
Right. And oh yeah, I know these. These are easy. I've done
just pretending, right? Yeah.
Yep. Nailed the interview, got the job, and back then drove to the mall to buy a book on Fox Pro and Visual Basic.
Yeah.
So I could understand what the heck I just signed up to do. So started there, and I actually did 3 or 4 summers at Aetna, and I think that's where I really realized the TV thing is cool, but the IT thing, it's just a different type of cool.
Yeah.
And then as we got to junior, senior year, job offers and internships and all that started to happen. And I really realized the TV industry, it's who you know. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily what you know. And I'll never forget some kid who, I won't say his name, wasn't a great student, but got this fantastic internship with David Letterman show.
Yeah.
And we were all like, how did you do that? And he's like, oh, well, my dad's David Letterman's attorney.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
it's Vitamin Plus, right?
So it was tough, right? And meanwhile, IT, I've always felt, and I do still feel, it's the great equalizer where people care more about your skill than mm-hmm. anything else. And anybody can make a name for themselves by learning and refining skills. And nowadays, I would argue that it's pretty equitable if you have time and an internet connection. Now, those two things aren't 100% equitable throughout the world, sure. Mm-hmm. but there's nothing stopping you from going to Oracle and getting a free account, or Azure and getting a free account. Yeah. You could watch hundreds of millions of hours of good content on YouTube. You could go take the MIT OpenCourseWare.
Oh yeah, I saw them. That's great.
You could do Khan Academy. You could just build stuff, right? And so many people have gotten their start doing that. And I think that's when I started to veer more towards the IT trend. Fast forward a little bit, a good friend of mine said, "Hey, do you want to interview at Oracle?"
Oh, great.
And I was like, what does Oracle do? Like,
okay.
We had a Mac II at Aetna that literally sat on a file cabinet. That was the Oracle server. Nobody could touch it.
Okay.
I would look at it because I'm a big Mac fan, of course, and I want to use it, but I'm not supposed to touch it. So I never really knew what Oracle was. Flew to DC, did my interview. They had a really, really efficient process. The interview took 2 days. And as you were leaving, they told you if you got the offer.
Oh, great. Yeah. So you don't have to get home and wait for a result, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I thought I did a good job. Day one was more difficult. Day two was kind of, we're going to put you in groups and make sure you're not a jerk, because they already knew who they were going to pick. But if like you failed day two, you would also fail day one. And I remember getting that offer and it was just floored. Like, it was a good amount of money, way more than I was thinking I would get. And my claim to fame that day is I drank in 4 states that day.
Okay.
Which I don't think I've done before.
You drank
in 4 states. Definitely had a beer in Maryland, because my buddy who, had me come in, we had a beer at the office, or right outside the office in Bethesda. Yeah. Had a beer at National Airport, which is Virginia. Had a beer on the flight. And the way that I factored, I was over Pennsylvania at the time. So that counts as Pennsylvania.
Do you have a medal for that? So kind of
No, back then you just said you did it and everybody believed you and they couldn't prove you wrong, right?
Okay, so now it's on record. So next time we will see you get a certificate for that. I will take care of that.
That'll be great.
Sure.
And then obviously New York, when I landed, I had, let's just say, more than one alcoholic beverage that evening. But it really changed the whole vector of my career, because I had no idea what Oracle did. And when we got there, they talked about, we're doing media stuff now. We're starting to stream video. We're just getting into the web. We're building our applications and they're going to be web enabled. It's like, oh, I know all this stuff. I've been building systems, on Fox Pro and Visual Basic for a healthcare company. Like, this is easy. And it really took off. We had a 6-month training class called Class Of. And they're doing Class Of now.
Like onboarding, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So they put us up in Bethesda, Maryland. And right away, they're like, you're going to corporate, which was Redwood Shores at the time. So we spent, I think, a month and a half in Redwood Shores taking training and building a project. Okay. Crazy, crazy, crazy time. I mean, we worked hard. We had a couple all-nighters. We got to meet some of the local police officers one night. They happened to be in the same neighborhood that our hotel party was in. They wanted to check in on us.
As long as you had parties, so everything was nice, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
But it really, it took off after that, right? So I got more into the e-business suite side, mostly, we'll say, while we're being honest here. Once we were out of the program, they would spin us off to different states. I wanted to do core tech, but core tech, I think, was New York City or Boston. And I like both of those cities, but I was seeing somebody in Virginia. Okay. E-business suite was Virginia or Maryland, I guess.
So it was a decision based on not the technical part.
It was a little more of a personal decision. Yeah. So I don't regret it. I learned a lot about how the apps worked and a lot about how the apps worked. We'll leave it at that. But more importantly, the business side, right? Like, companies need these big systems, right? They're going to have payables and receivables. And by the way, what's a payable and what's a receivable? Yeah. Wasn't very good at accounting. So I learned a lot of that, learned how to build demos, learned how to, most importantly, present. Yeah. And sit down with customers, because we were a sales team and we would have to sit down and say, what do you need our system to do? Oh, we need to do this, this, and this. Let me show you how we would do it. So every day was different. It was a lot of fun, long hours, crazy long hours. We used to joke, and this was true. we would have dinner out of a vending machine one night and at like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse the next night. Because you would just work. And then when you were done, if the sales rep was any good, they'd take you somewhere nice.
All right.
And then, fly home and do it again next week.
Sounds like a busy time, right?
It was very busy. And here's where the transition is. I got asked to build a demo for a DoD customer, and the requirements were really weird. They wanted to give away stuff to other DoD military facilities. Mm-hmm. So say I have a desk. It still works, but I somehow got a new desk.
Okay.
I want to sort of put my desk out there, so if someone else needs an extra desk, come get it, right? Maybe it's someone down the road. Maybe it's someone at a different base. So they wanted me to build an iStore, Oracle iStore app for this. But I'm like, there's no money here. No, it's all free. And I'm like, in the inventory, like you don't have multiple items. Everybody has their own item. Maybe it's the same desk, but one's in Baltimore and one's in Birmingham. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to try something here. So at the time I sat near Mike Hitchwa's office and we would talk.
It's obvious what happened then. Yeah.
Yep. And they had this new tool called Oracle Flows. And I said, your tool, it's a web thing, right? Oh yeah. I was like, and you built the Oracle calendar with it. Yep. Like, okay, here's the requirements. We just have a customer. They want to like give stuff away. Could Oracle Flows do that? Oh, totally. So I built the demo, taught myself Flows, and it was different than it was today. A little more difficult to navigate, maneuver, and had like two different portals. I had like the buyer portal, the seller portal, was able to upload images. Like here's a picture of a desk. I'm located here. Boom. Now it shows up as a saleable item. Somebody claims it. Emails are sent. They arrange the transport of the item.
Great. Yeah.
Customer loved it. And they said, what'd you build this in? Oh, it's this tool we haven't released yet. And I was done. They're like, we can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, well, but it's perfect. It's done. Like you could take this code and it's 80% of what you need. Well, if it's not a supported tool, we're not allowed to use it as the U.S. military. I'm like,
and then you get Mike Hitchwa to release it to get this thing done, right?
It really, the feedback I gave Mike, I think is what got Mike to say, there's two things you could do. You could leave me alone because you're bothering me every day, or you could come work for me and then you could do this all the time.
Yeah.
And at the time, my team was at a juncture where we were being pushed in like one or two different directions. Neither was very interesting to me. I want to think it was the old Oracle collaboration suite was a product they wanted us to sell. I don't think it's email. I don't want to sell that.
Yeah.
And I talked to Mike. I talked to my manager. They made the transfer. And I became one of the first product managers of what has become Apex.
Oh, great. Which year was that?
This was 2002, I believe.
Okay.
Right around 2002.
Really, really early stage of what's known as Apex now.
I mean, I want to say 20 years ago, but I don't want to say it on tape. It was 21 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
You will not know what I did when I was like 20 years ago, right? So I was not even thinking about this stuff.
Yep.
All right. So this was quite a story with this project, which is basically what's in Germany. It's eBay like garage sale thing, right? So you have something here, and I mean it was years ago, so there wasn't even eBay, right? On 2000, I think. Barely, if there was. Yeah. Right? All right. So in this long journey, so you were at Apple, I almost said at Oracle for a couple of years then, right? And you visit Apex Evolving then, or HMLDB then, right?
It was wild, right? So joined the team, and it's still a very small team. I want to say it was like Mike Hitchwa, Joel Coleman, of course, Raj Matamal, Sergio Lunison. All those people, obviously not Joel, but Joel was still at Oracle. All those people are still at Oracle, right? So Mark Ziefs,
sure,
that was the core team. Scott Spendolini was another one who unfortunately he passed away, I want to say maybe like 10 years ago, but that was the team that built Apex. And then most of them are still here.
Yeah.
So
you were in the product management, right? So were you developing actively on the framework, or were you just managing?
we did a little development, but not a lot. It was really like an outbound product management role where I'll never forget the open world that we debuted HTML-DB at. It was 2003. We launched it in conjunction with Oracle 10G. We were in the basement of the Marriott. And if you've ever been there out in San Francisco, you go down a level and you go down another level.
Okay.
And it's that big, long hall. The line to see our spreadsheet upload demo stretched the entire duration in that hall.
Yeah.
It was insane. We must have, the three of us did that demo 100 times that night.
Sure.
Standing room only. There'd be a group of like 20 people all huddled together. Click, upload, next, show the table, build an app. Now I'm editing it in HTML-DB. It was just blowing people's minds.
And then 20 people out of the room, the next 20, right?
Next 20 came in. I'll never forget. I was so hungry because we literally went from like session to session to session to this OTN at the time, the Oracle Technology Network night event.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't eaten lunch that day, so it was like 8:30.
Yeah.
I just grabbed somebody's badge and I literally walked to the front of the food line. I said, I'm with Oracle. I just need a slice of pizza right now. And they were like, oh, you must be important. Here you go.
Yeah, great.
And then get right back to demoing, right? Because
that's the way to do it. So otherwise there would be no Scott Spendolini for that day, right?
That's right.
All right. So right after that, you did a journey through some different companies. So we don't have to be in detail on that one, but I'm very interested. What was the funniest story you can tell about inside a project? Maybe during the time when you were not at Oracle, I think you can talk about that, right?
I need to think of a funny story.
Funny, or maybe something bad happened or something special. I mean, you have so many years in experience. Go ahead and tell us a story.
Let me think of something funny first. I got a good one.
Okay.
This hopefully we don't have. Well, it's PG. So I'm finishing a session, and I was an ace at the time, and someone had a question, like they always do, right? So we're chatting, and I'm looking at my watch, and I'm in like, I want to say I was in the Marriott, and I had to go all the way over to the Sofitel. So it's like a 20-minute walk, and I have like 30 minutes to do the walk to get to my next session.
Okay.
So I look at the guy and I'm like, look, I really want to keep talking to you, but I need to start walking towards Sofitel. I'm happy if you're going in that direction to continue the conversation. And he said, sure. Yeah, I could go that way. So we're walking through the hall and we get to the restroom. And I said, let me stop here real quick. I'll be right back. And I walk in and he was standing right behind me.
Oh, so he bizarre. Wanted really to.
And I'm like, whoa. And he's like, oh, I'm just waiting. I'm like, oh. Here?
Oh God.
Yeah.
So he was really into it.
He was into it. He didn't want to miss a beat, and I just wanted like 30 seconds, but he was
just thinking you were sneaking away, right? So he just wanted to take
I'm not sure what he was thinking.
Oh boy.
I hope he's not listening, and if you are, I'm sorry, but there was a personal space thing that I just needed my minute, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I still laugh about that to this day because it was just kind of bizarre.
Okay, I write it down as a note, not following Scott Spendolini to the restaurant.
Yeah, please.
Okay, all right,
right. My thing, right?
Great, awesome. Now, the worst you experience in the project.
Oh, I had a customer, and I won't say their name, of course.
Yeah.
Decide not to pay a rather large sum of money that I owed a subcontractor. Fortunately, and here's some advice if you have your own business, or even if you don't, save all your emails. Yeah. I was able to go through and talk to their legal department and basically show them me saying I'm not comfortable extending the work without a contract, them saying, don't worry, you have our word, me saying, I prefer you sign paper, them saying, we just need you to start today, me saying, I'm not comfortable, but if it's that urgent, I'll do it. So having all that documentation, they said, we're not going to pay you. You should have done the work. And I forwarded it all to their attorney. And luckily, they did make good on the payment.
Oh, great. Yeah. I mean, it has something to do with trust, right? So you can start a project early and even without the paperwork, but you have to trust each other. And
absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny that I've had a couple other non-payment issues in my career, always the big companies.
Yeah.
I had a small company. It was one guy. He would that check would arrive like clockwork on the first of the month.
Yeah,
handwritten, hand stamped on the envelope. But
it's your own money. It's your own money. You're taking care of that, right? Big companies might just put it into the chain and then forget it because
exactly.
Yeah, I made this experience too. So I was expecting a story like you did an RM minus F on star, like on route or something.
I'm trying to think if I ever did that. I probably have and just blocked it mentally. I was a kid when I did it, but that doesn't count. It was
as long as you did it with Oracle. I don't know.
It was FileMaker Pro. So we won't go into that one because that one.
Okay.
That one was definitely interesting.
Yeah. So there are a couple of companies you were in between. So you had always like management role, I think. So you had your own company, I saw, or at least the co-founder, right? So Sumneva.
Yeah. So Sumner. When I left Oracle, I founded Sumner Technologies. Then I brought Doug Galt aboard, and we were co-owners of Sumner.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Sumneva was us working with Dimitri Gillis and John Scott. So it was more of like a marketing relationship that we had. It lasted for a little while. We kind of had our differences, and we decided to just sort of retract that and go back our own separate ways. It was interesting. I think it had some potential, but I think if you look at the 4 people in that company, each one is tremendously successful in their own right. So, maybe we just couldn't do it together. We all had to sort of go our own ways to get it done.
I mean, it is kind of a callback when you said in the TV business. So it's basically a very great thing to have this vitamin B, to have someone in the network who is bringing you stuff or like a job or something. And I think this is getting in the same in the IT. Not you have to know someone to get somewhere in, but you have a very strong network. And that's the reason why we are speaking right now.
Yep.
I'm not, as I said in the intro, I just catch you on the floor outside, right? No, it was the way that I was just reaching out the network I am already in or almost in certain places, and I'm just asking people, right? And then when I hear that you did business with so many different guys from the community and they are all successful right now and we are still one big community, it is still a strong factor, I think. So if you're getting into this network, you will not have ever a problem to get a job or something, right?
I can't say how critical networking is. And events like this, I'm so happy they're back, are really the best place to do that. And I encourage people, I talk to people a lot about careers and how do you, get your name out? How do you become, good at what you do? Start small. Mm-hmm. Start at your local user group. They are starved for content typically. You're not going to get paid.
Yeah,
You're not going to go anywhere exotic, right? Sometimes they're doing their sessions out of the Oracle office or out of someone who has an office or has access to it. But it gets you the credibility, and then you start to build your network. You talk to people, you laugh, you joke, you tell stories, you learn from one another. Those relationships, as long as you maintain them, it's pretty easy to do that these days, they could last a lifetime.
Yeah, and it could be in the right situation where you need a job or need some new things to do. Right. So you went from your own company to a quite big company like Enkitech, right? Like Accenture Enkitech.
Enkitech was small-ish, 150 people, I think, when we got bought by Accenture.
All right.
Here's a funny story from Enkitech.
Yes.
So this one's pretty good. We got acquired by Accenture, obviously, and part of that was the HR onboarding. So Accenture has their own process, which typically they said was a 3-day training class. And the woman was very flustered because she said, I've been given 3 hours with this group to cover 3 days of material. And of course, we all groaned because it's like 3 hours we got to sit here for. Like,
sure.
Can we do it in 2 or 1? So they were going through the office and, looking at the facilities. Like, so there's a lock on the door. And it was one of those locks, like a combo lock when you press the buttons, but it only had 5 numbers and everybody knew the combination.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, what's combination? How many digits is it? And we're like, 3. And like, so we could probably brute force that in an hour. I'm like, this guy's daughter brute forced it in 3 minutes. We got to change that. That's got to be like a badge reader with audit logs and compliance and what kind of shredder is that, right? They're in like one of the offices. Like, I don't know, we got it at Staples or Home Depot or wherever you get shredders. Well, the crosscut is less than 2 inches. Like,
okay. So it was more like an assessment thing, right? So, okay.
It was so painful, but we had a lot of fun. Just like, oh, well, my experience with 1 inch crosscut's not very good. That's why we went with 2.
Okay.
They got a little, that this guy was there for business and us being who we were,
Of course, yeah.
It's a crosscut shredder, buddy. Like, whatever.
Yeah, you can't read it, right? But if there's some rule to have it like smaller pieces, I don't know.
It was a rule.
Yeah. So then you went over to Viscosity, a well-known company here in America.
Yeah. So I after Accenture took over Enkatech, it's probably there like 8 months, give or take. Accenture looks at big projects, right? Like they're, anything less than $1 million, they're probably not going to chase. Apex projects could be $50K, $100K, right?
Sure.
Small, quick hit. Like, we could do that for you in a month, and they would lose money on that level of agility. So it just wasn't what we thought it would be.
Okay, so you totally merged. So when Accenture bought Enkatech, they just you merged completely in, so you were not able to do your own business still, right? So okay.
Now Enkatech also had some of the best Exadata folks, and that was the meat of the deal. Is they wanted to get ahead in the Exadata space. So Kerry Osborne and that whole crew of that worked with the Exadata was what they were most interested in. So we spun off. It was amicable. I went back and did my own thing for a while, and then joined up with Viscosity. I want to say it was 2018 or so.
Yeah, June 2018.
There you go. Right. So that was like right at a Kscope. I think that might have been the Orlando Kscope in 2018.
Yeah.
They actually moved me from Virginia to Austin. It was one of the regrets I had with Enkatech. So Enkatech was headquartered in Dallas.
Okay.
And they offered to move me, and I just didn't want to at the time. Like, I liked where I wasn't ready to make the move. And being remote, just like, you were never at the table.
Yeah.
And it was good because Doug was there, and Doug and I, have been friends forever, and he would keep me posted. But if Kerry or Wade, the other owner, would say like, hey, I got an idea, I wouldn't be involved in that. It would just be Doug. So I decided, all right, I want to be closer to the company, and talked to my wife, and she had just got a job offer at Inova Fairfax Hospital as a trainer for Epic software. And, she said, no, I want to change too. Let's do it. So
great. Yeah.
We took a risk and we moved out to Austin, and, very different world and very different everything. The kids, I thought it would go the other way around. I thought my son would be happy and my daughter would be miserable. It sort of initially was flipped. But now they've both found their own little crews, and they're pretty
that's
happy
great.
there.
Yeah. So then you stayed in Austin, right?
Yep.
For like 2 years?
I'm still in Austin.
Oh, so you're still in Austin, but not for Viscosity, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. So you went back to Oregon. That's where the journey begins again.
That's right.
In the team, right? So tell me what's happening in round 2.
So pandemic, right? It's February, and things are starting to get kind of dicey, and I'm talking with Shakib and Joel and Doug, over text message and stuff, and they're telling me about like, oh, there's these big things happening here. We're building these systems. We had a call with, the head of FDA, the head of the CDC, Larry, all these doctors, and I'm like, you guys need help, and I'll never forget like reaching out to Joel, and Joel was like, come on back. It's like, I think it's time. Right? I couldn't not get involved to help them do what they were doing, because they needed all the help they can get. Sure. And there's only one Shakib, right? Yeah. There's only one Doug. They needed people because there were multiple pandemic projects. I mean, it started out with just one, and quite honestly, the first one, they did a ton of work and it never took off. But the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth one all did. So that's how I went back. It was weird because the office is closed.
Yeah,
I'm sitting
everything was locked down, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting at the same desk on the same computer, but now I'm an Oracle employee again.
Yeah. Feels weird, right?
It was very, very surreal. It's still surreal to this point.
Every job change during the pandemic, I heard from many people is like, yeah, same place, same day, other people, but yeah, just wearing the red shirt then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your daily job right now? So the pandemic is obviously, I mean, you can tell that it is almost over, I think. So we don't have any
Well, it's
big
not.
deal, right?
The emergency orders have all been lifted here in the U.S.
Right.
I think one person in the entire airport had a mask on, and that's fine. That's a personal choice. And there's people that wore them before too. So, but so the pandemic hit. We worked crazy hours. I rolled over to a different role in January, where we were working with a brand new, what's called a global business unit. So in Oracle, you have Larry and Safra. They're both peers, right?
Yeah.
Safra owns most of sales, all the ops, and this thing called the global business units. GBUs, global business units, are typically acquisitions. So for instance, Oracle Micros. If you've eaten at this hotel, it's an Oracle Micros property. That's owned by Oracle and run almost as a separate little mini company inside Oracle. There's about 10 different GBUs. Now, Larry owns OCI and eBusiness Suite and database. So, you go up the chain and over, depending on what part of the company that you're in. So we were going to start a new GBU that was doing public safety applications. And they're still doing it, and we're still working with it. But they had some pretty terse, pretty difficult to achieve requirements for Apex.
Okay.
And this is very, it's interesting, and I like to think I made the right call here. After learning the specifics of what we had to do, I started saying, like, maybe Apex isn't your best answer here. One of the systems we wanted to build was a device running inside a police car.
Oh, all right.
Right. So they wanted, and they ended up using Android tablets with a native app, which is the right answer. But they wanted Apex to run and have offline capabilities, to have local caching capabilities, to also be able to do turn-by-turn navigation.
Okay.
Like, if there was just one of those three things, I might have said, let's give it a shot. But all three of those things, it would just be super difficult to implement with the state of the art of where Apex is today.
I think that we will go this journey, definitely not at that point where you needed it, but I think we are exactly in this path because offline capabilities. There are a couple of talks on this conference here about offline capabilities. Then Vincent Monod is very intense working on PWAs, where location services coming from, where turn-to-turn or site turn-by-turn directions could be possible to access. So I think in a couple of months or years, we will be able to achieve almost everything we can now with Android and so on, right?
I agree. We're heading in that direction, but don't forget this was early 2021.
Yeah.
None of it was there. PWAs barely existed. If they did exist then.
Yeah, it's nothing for production, right? So we were talking about offline capabilities of Apex for the last 6 years, I guess. But it was not so mature that you can use it.
Right.
All right. So you're working now after this.
So as a result of that, they were talking about forming a central Apex team that would work across all the different GBUs. And I felt awful. Like, I had a new boss. They brought in somebody, in between me and the GM who ran the GBU. And my first one-on-one call with him was, I want out.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's like, what? And I explained everything. And he was like, okay, I get it. So we took some of the team and formed this brand new team called GBU ACE, right? It's a little nod of the cap to the ACE program, but ACE there stands for Apex Central Engineering.
Oh, what a coincidence. That's
it was not
same.
a coincidence. We got a really cool logo. The Apex team whipped up for us. I'll try to share it, but it's very slick. It's like the Redwood version of an ace, and it's got the ace, the ace symbol there. So I like it. It just rolls off the tongue, and that's why I could still carry my ace director bag around.
Yeah.
So we've grown from that time. I think we were 6 people. We're 74, 75 people now, building Today, I would say we've got about 15 to 20 projects in various stages of development. Some are early. We're still doing POCs. We're still working through it. Others are live, and we're in V2, V3 type mode on those, and then pretty much every phase in between.
Are the other guys from the team we're working in are also active in social media and the Oracle Apex community? So I'm not sure if I met someone of them.
A lot of them aren't. I'm trying to think of Eddie, like Tim St. Hilaire works for me now. He has been active in the past. I don't know if he's too active now. I do see him on LinkedIn more than anywhere else. Yeah, most of them aren't. And that was the fascinating part is during the whole pandemic run up, we all went out to friends and family, right?
Yeah,
it was, grab anybody we could that we knew in the community. Well, that wore off because, either we hired everybody or people we couldn't hire, we couldn't hire, right? For whatever reason. So we had to go looking deeper, and man, there are some rock stars out there. I mean, we brought a few people on the team that never heard name,
of them, yeah.
Like didn't even hear the companies that they work for. And interviewing was like, oh yeah, I built, Apex applications on top of eBusiness Suite. We've got 45 apps in production. It integrates with Kerberos and this and this. I'm like,
but not interested in sharing knowledge and participate in the community, right?
I don't know if they weren't interested or maybe they just didn't know about it or maybe to be fair, they just didn't want to. It's not a skill everybody has.
Yeah.
But I was grateful that we found these folks because some of them have just really risen as, they're as capable as the people who are at this conference here doing presentations. And I'd love to see them get out of their shell a little bit, maybe blog a little bit, and perhaps go and do some of the local stuff. Budget-wise, it's tough. We don't really get a big travel budget because we're all remote. So it's difficult to have them go out to a cloud world or a Kscope.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty big investment then, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, we don't have that much time left. I'm sorry. So maybe
it's flown by. I feel like I've only been here like 10 minutes.
It flew by. So I have a couple of questions from our categories. So this is something we do in almost every episode of Devs on Tape to make it somehow comparable to other guests we already welcomed on our podcast. So we start with the hypothetically category.
Okay.
So if you could undo one technological trend in the past, what would it be? It could be everything. It could be electrical cars. It could be ventilators on hats or whatever.
Ventilators on hats. No, I think that's a good invention. We all should have that. In Austin, you need that.
Yeah.
I want to say AI, but I'm worried that AI will get me if I say AI, so I won't.
It might be indexed in the podcast and they will get you.
So not AI, right? AI. I'm going to say self-checkout lanes at stores like Target, grocery stores and stuff. I think you need to have a certification to use those. You should swipe your card and you'd have to have proven you could do it.
Yeah, you need like a certification or somehow a rank on your shirt, so you're allowed to do that.
Right, and not take 30 minutes to do it, right?
Yeah, okay.
So we'll go with that one.
Yeah, right. So the exact opposite. So hypothetically, what would you like to invent or create in the technology sector?
Oh, this one's easy. AI for Outlook. So I do a lot of meetings, way too many, and there ought to be some AI that shows that I have 15 calls with no breaks and proposes a better way.
Yeah.
Like, hey, when are you going to eat? Hey, when are you going to go to the restroom? Hey, when are you going to get a break? And is able to understand, like, these are recurring calls, make them 20 minutes instead of 30.
Yeah.
These are calls that happen infrequently. They're very important. The people on the call are important. They're hard to get a hold of. Don't move this one. Mm-hmm. So as people add stuff to my calendar, AI should be able to shuffle and move.
This sounds for me more like an feature request for Apex Ideas, so we can access calendars over the.
Sure.
I think you can do it with the OData connector maybe to access the Office stuff, and then you can. Oh, I'm already in the implementation.
There you go.
Writing a concept.
Grab your laptop. We'll build it over.
Great. For next conference, we will present it. I'm in it.
Yep.
I'm full in. So most of the time we are going through like some very, very hypothetical thing. What would you invent like something which isn't even possible? But I think AI in the Office suite is coming. It's already coming, right?
I know, but it's got to be
exactly
good,
what you said.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you double book me, it should delete 3 of your emails, not tell you which ones.
Yeah, I read that. You posted that. I think somewhere, right?
I'm strongly in favor of that feature.
Yeah, you have to be sanctioned when something like this happened. All right, so next next category is in private.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh boy.
Yeah. Would you show us your screen time on the iPhone without blushing?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. So
I don't do anything naughty.
You're no smommy, right?
No.
So like every day, all day on the screen, not even socializing because all right.
It's going to be very different when Apollo dies from Reddit later this week. I think it'll go way down, which I think is good. I'll spend a little more time on that.
It might come back. It might come back. We usually don't talk about things that are currently happening because we don't know when this episode will be out.
Okay.
But in this case, I think that it's coming back. So even if this episode will be like back in the future will be released then there might be something else, but I'm guessing now that it's coming back because no one will use Reddit if the API fees will be that high.
I hope so.
And the moderators are now saying that they won't work anymore if this is the case, right?
But I'll be honest, I never installed Facebook on my phone. It's a good thing. I still have it on my iPad. I can still look at it occasionally, but it eliminated that like need to see stuff, and it's gotten so bad. It's just ad.
Yeah.
Person I don't really know, but somehow posts a lot.
Yeah.
Ad.
First name, 8-digit number.
Yeah.
Also video from funny things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just a waste of time, right? Someone said to me, and it really rang true, like if you took your social media time and actually read books, how much smarter would you be?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. But I wouldn't see like a cat jumping off a chair and landing on its head or something. But
they can be very cute.
They can. That's what Insta Reels are for, though.
Or TikTok.
Yeah.
All right. Next question in private. Are you satisfied with your work-life balance currently?
I do strive to carve out time, whether it's family, whether it's me. As you get older, your kids are getting older and they're going to go away soon and go to college, and trying to spend more time with them. Yeah. Weekends, I really do unplug. I will read email. I may tinker, right? I don't get a lot of development time during the week. So I may tinker with stuff or ideas or, hey, you know what? I need a report on our project tracking app. I'm just going to do it so I can keep my skills fresh. But yeah, you've got to balance. You know, of course I could do better. I think a lot of it is, being on calls all day. It's 5:30, 6 o'clock. Shakib and I used to call it in the pandemic, second shift starts, right? When you actually do the work. Yeah. You're done with all the calls, so let's get to the work. But
yeah, I mean, as long as you're satisfied with that, or you don't have to hassle with the work, right? So you can even work more hours if it's like fun or something necessary to do.
Right.
But if it's okay for you, great, right? Why to change?
It's tricky because I have teams in Australia, so I do have to put in late hours sometimes. And the team is pretty large. If there's a problem, it's going to bubble up to me at some point. So that's why weekends, don't bother me. Yeah. Stuff's got to be really on fire on the weekend. And I tell the team the same thing. I really want people to shut off at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever their end of the day is, and decompress. Otherwise, they burn out. And then
it's very important to make sure that this happens and you don't just look away, right?
Yep.
Okay. Last category now, consumption. How do you consume news and new knowledge? Do you read newsletters, Twitter, books, magazines, or even the Devs on Tape podcast?
I've listened to the podcast a couple times. Most of my news probably comes from either Twitter or Reddit, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. We used to watch the local news in the morning. So we'd wake up like 6-ish. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, we've migrated to this smaller room it's a little cozier in the morning. We grab our coffee and we just kind of sit on our devices and go through stuff. So I don't miss it because there's never anything critical there. And between Reddit and like the Apple News app, which is okay, there's a lot of garbage that I kind of keep shuffling out. I think I'm pretty up to date on that. Now, obviously, like media consumption is a huge thing. And I was listening to a podcast This Week in Tech a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about how like media literacy is such a critical skill that so few people have. You've really got to understand, where is this story coming from? Who's the source? What's the ulterior motive? Because there is one. And then go see if you could find other supporting stories. So probably one of my proudest parental moments, it was back in 2020, early 2020, when Kobe Bryant tragically passed away with the helicopter crash. I didn't get the alert on my phone, but I got a text from my daughter saying, "Oh my God, Kobe died." And I wrote back, because we had just gone through this. Okay, you can't trust Instagram. People post crazy stuff. No, Dad, I checked ESPN.com and I checked CNN.com, and both of them are reporting it. And I was like, wow.
That's media competence, right? So the next generation is really growing up with that. So it's just the generation.
Crucial skill.
I would say the generation before my generation, they are through or has been thrown in this social media and this overwhelming news thing.
It's nonstop, right?
Right.
It's
they
nonstop.
read it on Facebook. You said it right. There are some accounts on Facebook, they're just posting it, they read it, and they just keep it for real. And they don't know how to evaluate that, and that an information can come from like 5 different sites with 5 different reasons why they're posting what you see, right? And I know that the next generation is able to grow up with kind of a good media competence, so they know that nothing what I read should be directly being kept for real, right? All right. So next question is going to that again. To the same topic. How do you deal with the growing flood of information via various channels? So news informations are coming more and more, push notifications and so on. How you are dealing with that?
I have a very exclusive push notification list, right? Okay. And I know every app wants it. Like, nope. If you're not an airline or one of my banks, you're probably not on that list. So I do think I do like AP news alerts. But even then, like, I don't really care that Pat Sajak is retiring from the Wheel of Fortune, right? That's an alert I got. Like, news is, to me, important events. And being here in the States, like, if it didn't happen in the States, it's probably not important. And we don't get to see that. Like, there's other countries. There's pretty major things going on, and we could say that any time of the year outside.
So finally, there are a couple of features in the iPhone where you can just group those notifications. So you can always say, this notification of this app should reach me directly when this occurs. Or I want to collect those notifications that are coming in between 12 and 3, for example, and then just group them and show just the icons and say there are 47 notifications at that time. So when I'm looking at my phone, I see exactly that. There's some summation from noon, right? Or from the morning, I guess. And then you can just look into it if it's interesting or not, but you don't have to be bugged by your phone or your watch the whole day.
Yeah. The notification thing, it's interesting, right? It's all about clicks. They want you to click, click.
Exactly.
But I'm not always interested in the topics. Every once in a while, I will go click on media sources I don't normally visit, right? So Al Jazeera, US, right? Just to see what they're talking about. Like, what's here that's not there? I'll go to USA Today, which, you know, people who are like hardcore journalists, don't give them a ton of credit, but every once in a while they do have interesting stuff. Wall Street Journal, you know, heck, sometimes I'll do the rounds and do the MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, just to see like, are there other things going on that I'm missing? But it's tricky. It's a real problem, I think, because you could be consumed by it and you could just spend hours reloading and reading, and you go down those rabbit holes of conspiracy theories. And now now you're sort of dangerous.
You're getting addicted to that, right? So during the pandemic, there was so many information and so many things going around. So what I used to do is turn off all these notifications about that. And there's one time at the day in the evening where me and my wife were sitting on the couch and watching the daily report from our public TV show, and they were telling us everything from the day. And it's, I think, the most valid or the most trustful source, and you get everything in like 15 minutes, and then you're informed well, and you don't have to carry everything during the day.
Right. Yeah, we had some fun with that during the pandemic. Every day when something wacky came out, we had our daily call with CDC, NIH. I mean, these were scientists.
Yeah.
These were, and I'll say it because I want it on record, these were some of the hardest working, underappreciated, underpaid people I've ever met. They worked harder than us to get this stuff done. And the thing is, they were probably working this hard before, and they still are.
No one noticed that before. Yeah. So...
But we would be at these calls and you'd read the news that would say like UV light kills COVID, and everybody would just be face palming.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess we're done, right? Just go get a UV light and shine it around your house and right.
I guess this sounds like another time, another podcast. We should just invite someone from these institutions, so we get in touch and talk about this topic.
Oh, it's
so
fascinating.
Unfortunately, we have to leave this room now, so we have to close the podcast. I'm very glad that you were here, Scott. I was enjoying talking to you, and I hope we have a great time at the conference. And thank you very much.
No, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it, and hope we learned some new stuff this week.
Yes, great. So see you soon.
Great.
And
cheers.
Bye to our listeners. Bye.